Well, new this hour, the Lafayette Police Department is currently investigating the death of an 18-year-old girl, Gabriella Sharp. On Friday morning around 3:40 a.m., officers were dispatched to a convenience store off of West Congress Street to a report of an unresponsive female. Officers and paramedics attempted life-saving measures but were unsuccessful. Sharp was pronounced dead at the scene. The cause of death is pending autopsy results, and the incident has not been ruled a homicide. Anyone with information related to this incident is asked to contact the Lafayette Police Department.
Consequences for that shit. All that shit was wrong. Nigga was drunk. That shit was wrong as fuck. But as in for y'all saying nigga rape and all that, man, nigga don't do that. Nigga don't play like that, bro. The fuck? Nigga don't play like that. Y'all get on the Instagram, oh, this nigga rape and all that. When you see him cut his hand off, bitch, come, man, what you would come try to even touch me? The fuck? You dumb? Why would you even try to fucking touch me?
It was 3:40 in the morning, in the quiet hours of Lafayette, Louisiana, when the call came in. A young life, just 18 years old, found unresponsive on the cold pavement outside a convenience store. Her name was Gabriella Sharp, a senior at Acadiana High School, a girl who had the whole future ahead of her. Tonight you're watching True Crime 911. Before we begin, I noticed that over 75% of you watching right now aren't subscribed. Think about that. We bring you real cases, stories you need to hear. If you don't hit subscribe, you might miss the next warning before it becomes someone you know. Don't be the person who hears about a tragedy like this after it's too late. Subscribe now and stay alert. Gabriella was supposed to cross the stage in cap and gown just months later. She stood among her classmates, planning college, dreaming of what awaited her. Instead, on a still night in early November, her name would echo through the community in grief, questions, and fear. When officers arrived, they found her declared dead at the scene. The police told the public it was a medical issue. They said the autopsy showed a health-related cause. But what if that explanation wasn't complete? What if the truth behind Gabriella's final hours was far more complex and far more troubling than anyone expected? As we bring you this story, we'll walk through her last noon moments, the mobile phone video that the police confirm they are investigating, the sudden arrests of two young men on sexual battery and voyeurism charges, and the unanswered questions that remain. How does a healthy high school senior collapse and die outside a store? Who was with her? What did that video show? And why are the results of the full toxicology and cardiopathology reports still pending? This isn't just about a death. It's about a community shaken, a family searching, and a mystery that could be hiding in plain sight. Gabriella Sharp, an 18-year-old senior at Acadiana High School in Lafayette, Louisiana, full of life, full of promise. She walked the halls with friends who say she always had a smile. Teachers remember her as polite, enthusiastic, ready to take on whatever came next. In every photo she's there, cap tilted just so, dancing under the bright lights of homecoming, laughing in the cafeteria with her classmates. Her future was laid out in front of her. Graduation just months away, college plans beginning to form, independence waiting beyond the school doors. Then came one night, one morning, and everything changed. Friends described Gabriella as someone who cared, someone others leaned on. She wasn't the type to stand alone in a crowd. She led in her own quiet way. Her classmates talk about how she volunteered for school events, how she helped younger students navigate the building, how she stayed after class to talk or just to hang out. She believed in what came next. At school, she walked the familiar hallways, the Rams' green and gold colors overhead, the yearbook signing in the auditorium, the senior class selfie in the courtyard. Her name etched alongside her friends' names in the senior section of the yearbook. Someone you trusted, someone you knew would make a mark. Then, in the early hours of November 1st, 2025, she was found unresponsive outside a convenience store at the 2400 block of West Congress Street in Lafayette, Louisiana. Suddenly, the future she was planning, graduation, college, independence, all of it disappeared in a moment. What happened to Gabriella in the hours that led her to that gas station? What changed? What went wrong? And today, we pause not just to ask how, but to remember who she was. Because before the flashing lights, the headlines, the investigation, you must know the girl behind the name. Gabriella left behind friends who say her laugh would fill a room, who recall how she'd offer help with homework, how she'd join in the choir or show up for the game. Teachers say she had plans, dreams growing, and talked about life after high school. She wanted more. And then, nothing. As we move forward into this story, keep in mind the girl who had it all ahead of her, and the sudden, unexplained end of everything she expected. Because for Gabriella Sharp, things weren't supposed to end like this, but they did. In the hours before dawn, on the eve of what should have been another normal weekend, 18-year-old Gabriella Sharp moved through the world of late-night chats and high school senior plans. She spent her evenings surrounded by friends, laughing, texting, whispering about college, about prom, about life after graduation. A senior at Acadiana High School in Lafayette, Louisiana, Gabriella had what next on her mind. She was not planning to stay up until the sun came up, yet she was. Phone records show she left the party later than expected, her location moving from the house through familiar streets of Lafayette toward the 2400 block of West Congress Street. Map visuals trace her final known steps, from laughter and selfies to blurred phone clips of a convenience store facade, early morning hour, a stillness that hadn't been there before. Somewhere between goodbyes and the early morning hours, something went terribly wrong. She wasn't alone. Friends say she was texting, she was among peers, she wasn't out of touch, she wasn't abandoned, and still, she collapsed. At 3:40 a.m., police and paramedics arrived at the scene outside that convenience store. You know what's terrifying? Gabriella did everything right. She stayed in touch with friends, she wasn't out drinking by herself, and still something happened. If you think it can't happen to someone you know, think again. Subscribe to True Crime 911 because the next case we cover could be the one that teaches you how to survive. At 3:40 a.m., Lafayette police dispatchers received a 911 call from a passerby outside a convenience store along West Congress Street. The caller reported a young woman unresponsive on the ground. Within minutes, paramedics and officers arrived. The girl was Gabriella Sharp, 18 years old, senior at Acadiana High School. No visible injuries, no signs of a struggle, just stillness. Witnesses described confusion. First responders moving quickly, trying CPR, calling her name, but nothing worked. Within minutes, Gabriella was pronounced dead at the scene. Word spread fast. By sunrise, the Acadiana High community was already in shock. Parents texting their kids, teachers messaging group chats, asking the same question: what happened? Police launched an immediate investigation. Officers gathered surveillance footage, interviewed witnesses, and secured Gabriella's phone. They told the public it appeared to be a medical issue, not foul play. But for many, especially those who knew her best, that answer didn't feel right. Because just hours later, when the autopsy report came back, nothing about it made sense. Coming up, what investigators found inside Gabriella's system, and why two young men would soon be in handcuffs. Within hours of Gabriella Sharp's death, Lafayette's social media exploded. On TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, everyone had an opinion. Screens lit up with speculation. She was murdered. It was party drugs. The school's covering it up. By noon, hashtags like #Justice for Gabriella and #What Happened at Acadiana began trending across Louisiana. And just like that, a private tragedy became a public mystery. The Lafayette Police Department tried to calm the chaos. They released a brief statement. There are no signs of foul play. The cause of death appears medical in nature. But online, that only added fuel to the fire. Everyone had a theory. No one had the truth. What started as heartbreak began to spiral into hysteria. Posts accused classmates. Others blamed the police. And in between, rumors about a party video, about a missing phone, about what really happened in the hours before Gabriella was found. Friends and family begged people to stop spreading false information. But by then, it was too late. The story had taken on a life of its own. The internet has a way of twisting tragedy. In the rush to find answers, the line between fact and fiction blurred beyond recognition. And for the people who loved Gabriella, every new post, every new theory was another wound. But behind the noise, investigators were quietly uncovering something that would change the story and prove that not everything online was wrong. The arrest that shocked Lafayette. After days of speculation, the Lafayette Police Department released an official statement. They confirmed that Gabriella Sharp's preliminary autopsy pointed to a medical-related cause of death, a possible cardiac issue. But for the community, disbelief ran deep. How could an 18-year-old, full of life, a high school senior with no known health issues, simply collapse in the early hours of the morning? Parents, friends, and teachers were left asking the same question: how does this happen? Medical experts explain the possibilities. Cardiologists note that sudden cardiac arrest can occur in youth without warning, sometimes triggered by arrhythmia, undiagnosed heart conditions, or rare genetic factors. Dr. Lisa Moreau, a pediatric cardiologist, stated, "In young people, sudden death is rare, but it does happen. Often there are no obvious signs until it's too late. It's tragic and shocking to the community, but medically plausible." Even with this explanation, the questions lingered. Friends and families struggled to reconcile the medical findings with what they had seen on that night. The confusion, the panic, the unanswered questions. And then, just 3 days later, police made a shocking announcement. 2 young men were arrested in connection to Gabriella Sharp. Who were these men, and what did investigators uncover? Just days after Gabriella Sharp's death, Lafayette authorities announced the arrests of 2 young men connected to the investigation. Caden Richard, 18 years old, was charged with sexual battery. Jaquan Pierre, 19 years old, was charged with video voyeurism. The charges shocked everyone. If Gabriella had died from a heart-related medical issue, why were 2 men facing sex-related crimes? Friends and family were left with a deep sense of betrayal. A young girl, already gone, had been recorded and violated in ways that no one could immediately confirm or explain. The fear, the violation, the unanswered questions, it hung heavy over Lafayette. This is exactly why we do these stories. Because while Gabriella's family searched for answers, the people around her were recording, lying, and hiding evidence. If you think truth still wins in cases like this, you haven't been paying attention. Subscribe to True Crime 911, because when justice slips through the cracks, we're the only ones still watching. And while the arrests raised questions, they also deepened the mystery. What role, if any, did these charges play in Gabriella's death? Was there more to the night than anyone could see? The investigation was only beginning, and for Gabriella Sharp, the story was far from over. In the days following the arrests, Lafayette police confirmed the existence of a disturbing video connected to Gabriella Sharp's death. It's never been released to the public.
Investigators say the content was enough to justify the charges against Caden Richard and Jaquan Pierre. The video reportedly shows moments from Gabriella's final night, clips that shocked those who saw them behind closed doors. For her family, discovering the recording was a new kind of horror. The girl they had lost had been filmed in ways they never could have imagined, moments that should have been private, stolen forever. It wasn't just grief anymore, it was betrayal. A life ended too soon and in ways that compounded the pain for everyone who loved her. But here's the thing the video didn't answer. It didn't explain how Gabriella Sharp died. Forensics, toxicology, and the questions that no one could answer. As the investigation moved forward, forensic experts faced roadblocks. Toxicology results were still pending. Officers and medical examiners debated whether Gabriella Sharp's death was purely medical, a sudden cardiac event, or if trauma, perhaps overlooked or unreported, played a role. What killed Gabriella? A sudden heart failure, striking without warning, or trauma no one wanted to admit, hidden in the shadows of the investigation? Investigators reviewed phone records, surveillance footage, and witness statements, but every lead seemed to stall. And as the evidence stalled, the silence around her death grew deafening. Community grief, unanswered questions, and the lingering shock across Lafayette. Across Lafayette, hundreds came together that week to remember Gabriella Sharp. Friends held a candlelight vigil outside Acadiana High School. Parents, classmates, and neighbors left flowers, notes, and photos. Moments frozen in time of Gabriella laughing, smiling, alive. They shared memories, they shared grief. But despite the prayers, the tears, and the speeches, no one could answer the question that haunted them all. Why? In the days that followed, the police department released no new information about Gabriella Sharp's death. Both suspects, Caden Richard and Jaquan Pierre, were out on bond, leaving families and classmates questioning every unanswered detail. Online, rumors continued to spread, every theory, accusation, and speculation circulating faster than the official updates. The community's frustration grew, a mix of anger, fear, and helplessness. Parents worried about safety, teenagers wondered who they could trust, and everyone asked the same thing. Could something like this happen again? For Gabriella Sharp's family, friends, and the entire Lafayette community, silence from the authorities only deepened the pain, leaving questions that might never be answered. The official record is clear, but it raises as many questions as it answers. Gabriella Sharp's preliminary autopsy concluded a medical-related cause of death. The two young men, Caden Richard and Jaquan Pierre, remain entangled in ongoing legal proceedings, unrelated directly to the cause of death. And the investigation itself remains open, with police and forensic teams still reviewing evidence and awaiting final reports. The truth is simple. We still don't know what took Gabriella's life. And maybe we never will. Gabriella's story is more than a case file. It's a reminder of youth and vulnerability, of how quickly life can change, and of the danger of misinformation spreading faster than facts. For her family, friends, and the community, the emotional toll of unanswered questions is heavy. Grief becomes compounded by uncertainty. And for all of us watching, it is a stark reminder that safety and trust can be fragile, sometimes disappearing in a single moment. Stories like Gabriella Sharp's take hours of research, interviews, and careful reporting to bring to you, so you understand what really happened. If you value seeing the truth behind these cases, subscribe to True Crime 911 right now. And for those still watching but not hitting subscribe, tell us in the comments why you won't. Because ignoring stories like this doesn't make them go away. It only leaves the truth for someone else to uncover. Gabriella Sharp's life ended far too soon, but her story deserves to be remembered. And as long as we keep asking the questions, maybe, just maybe, her memory can help prevent the next tragedy. Coming next on True Crime 911, cases that will challenge what you thought you knew about safety, justice,
and the fragility of life.